Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. So in today's Skyrim mod video on PS4, I wanted to do something to try to help hopefully relieve some of the stress off of our mod author community, particular ones that feel like they have to no longer be able to either post content to their channels because they get bombarded with requests for ports, or possibly feel that they really can't communicate with the community too much anymore, because when they do, I've noticed they tend to get a lot of requests. And there is a right way to go about making requests for mods, but also there's a lot of it I think that a lot of the community doesn't take into consideration, because you figure that you're just an individual, you're making requests, but so is the next person and the next and the next, which then ultimately are mod authors that do this in their spare time. They're not making anything of it and they don't ask anything of it. They're spending the entirety of that spare time just trying to port things over that people are requesting, and if they accept one request, then they might feel that they have to accept another and another. That stops them from being able to possibly port over the things that they themselves would like to see in the game that they can finally have access to, or possibly make their own content with external assets that they've never been able to before, and what amazing content they might be able to come up with. Now, while I am not I'm not a mod author, I'm not a mod creator, I've known several of them that I've got to know through the years, through the channel I've become friends with and have spoken with, and so I have a basic understanding of some of what goes into it, although nothing here should be taken as 100% fact. But you have to realize when asking for a port that, first of all, they can't do it if the mod relies on the SKSE. If it has to have that to function, that mod's not possible over here. That's because we don't have access to the SKSE. If the mod only had the SKSE as an enhancement that gave it additional features, it's a possibility, but there could still be issues that arise from
Some
that.
are saying the Sijic monks
Even
have been
if
seen in Skyrim.
the mod in
They're an
question
ancient order.
is
I haven't
able
figured for
to be
that.
ported over here, they have to have permissions. If they try to port something without having permissions, for one, no mod author that is honorable is going to do that. But for two, even if they did, Bethesda would simply take the mod down because of not having permission to have
Been a
it
murder
ported
over in
over to
Riften.
BethesdaNet. This is
Some old
usually
lady who
something
runs
that
an
might be up
orphanage.
on
Those
Nexus
poor children must be
and
heartbroken.
wasn't, available on BethesdaNet. And now, to my understanding, there are two types of permissions. Open permissions, where the mod author has given permission to take their work, port it to other platforms, but they need to be credited. They'll often have some stipulation in there about, like, you can't make money off of it, etc. And then the other way is that our mod author that is getting the request for port A then has to take and find the mod author that made the port A mod, take and get in touch with them, ask, can I port this over, explain what their intentions are, see if they get a response, and then if so, actually go about creating the port, which is, I think, a lot more work than a lot of us realize that goes into ports themselves, because you figure that, well, the original mod author has already made this, created it, the mod is completed, so all they got to do is, once I request it, they just got to bring it to the platform, call it a day. But no, there's so much more that goes into it than that. For one, if they do have permission to port it over, the creation kit, to my understanding, is set up to stop them from uploading external assets to PlayStation. That's because it was originally against the TOS, and as far as we know, they are being allowed to do that now. It's been that way for a year. There is no way that Sony and Bethesda does not know this is going on with everything that is here, but at the same time, as far as I know, Bethesda has never updated the creation kit to where they can legitimately release these ports. So they have to find loopholes to be able to even get the mod onto our platform. I don't know how they go about that, but I know that they do, to more or less trick the creation kit into allowing the upload. Then on top of that, it's often having to be two separate ports that they have to do that with, a PS4 version and a PS5 version, because you require the version of the mod for your version of the game. And there's a lot more PS4 versions that is required, if you think about it, than PS5, because there is still a huge player base on PS4, myself included. But even if you play on a PS5 console, a lot of you are probably playing on your PS5 console the PS4 version of Skyrim, and that means you require the PS4 version of the mod, not the PS5. The PS5 version of the mod is only for a PS5 copy of Skyrim, and installing the wrong version of the mod can lead to it not functioning correctly, it not displaying textures correctly, items not appearing, etc. So they have to, because they don't want to exclude anybody, or the majority of them don't in the community, they're going to have to make two versions of the mod. And then I don't know if the trick to getting it uploaded to the platforms is the same, or if they have to do it one way for one way for the other. Even if so, it could be that they have complications with one or both mods not functioning correctly here. Often these ports do not, because of possible limitations that they didn't have originally, or no longer having access to things like SKSE if they used it to enhance the functionality of the mod. There could be one version that works okay and the other one doesn't. An example of that was the mod Control. When it was originally uploaded, the PS4 version worked, but the PS5 version, I was told, didn't. It slid downhill and had to eventually be taken down, worked on, got working, and then put back up. And now both PS4 and PS5 version of Control works. But if something goes wrong with one or both versions, that's that much more work than that they got to do on it. They also have to maintain these ported versions, because it's not up to the original author, it's up to the author then that has made the port to hear anything issue-wise with the mod and things of that nature. After making both versions of the port, if they're working on that and they're then getting yet more requests for this or that, that then again stops them from being able to either port something perhaps they would themselves like to have on the platform, or content with external assets that they'd like to make. And so when a mod author leaves a comment on, say, a video, and then suddenly you'll see a bunch of different people coming in and not realizing, they're not doing it to stress the mod author out. They simply want to have this particular port that they've always wanted. I know I'm the same way. There are ports that I want that would be great to have. I simply don't make the requests, but we're piling that all on a mod author as an individual, who then feels like they really can't communicate with the community, because every time they do, this is what happens. And our mod authors should never feel like they're getting burnt out on the platform, or that they can't create content for their channels, for their games, whatever. They should never feel like that. They've always had our back, and we should have theirs. There is a proper way to be able to go about requesting a port of a mod. Mod authors will have places set up where often there's more than one that can take and keep the stress from being just on an individual. Places like Discord, where you can go, you can make requests, you can report issues with mods. Now, unfortunately, I can not help with links to Discord. I don't understand it, I don't use it, but there are plenty of people that do, and that can help with that. But that would be the best place to go, because there are usually several mod authors in that might be getting together, and some can take this request, some can take that, and that way it doesn't put too much stress on any one author. So I hope that this has helped to explain some of what goes into it. Again, don't take anything that I say as fact, because I'm not a mod author, it's just my understanding of it. It could be a hell of a lot more complicated than I've even just said, but it comes down to the fact that, yeah, we all definitely want mods available. I've seen several that I would love to have as well, but there is a right way to go about it, and not stressing her mod authors out by making request after request, because yeah, we're an individual making a request, but so is the next person, and the next, and so on. And again, I don't want our mod authors to feel like they can't interact with the community. If it's one thing if they don't want to comment on a video or anything like that, that's perfectly fine. I don't expect anybody to comment if they don't want to. But it's another if they either choose not to because they think that they're going to get bombarded with requests if they do. It's the same of them not being able to make content for their channels, whether it be on YouTube, Twitch, whatever, because they know when they do that they're going to get a lot of requests. Because again, you have to remember that at the end of the day, they have personal lives. They have families, they have work, some of them, depending on how old they are, school maybe, I don't know. Any case, they've always had the community's back in more ways than one, not only enriching our experience all these years with content that they create and content they port, but also being there for our community at times that the game has been broken pretty badly, and being right there for us, helping us out. So let's help them out and make certain that we don't stress them out in the process. Thank you for taking time to watch the video, and to our mod authors, I hope it helps you out, and thank you for all that you do. Take care. This has been a Streaming Freedom Video Bulletin. Peace out.